Another Overseas League final and another special performance from Marizanne Kapp. The Perth Scorchers secured their maiden Women's Big Bash League title in front of a strong home crowd at the Perth Stadium on Saturday, November the 27th, to bring what was an exciting WBBL season to a close. Welcome to another episode of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents The Outside View, powered by Fantasy Akada, where we'll look back on what was an interesting finals week.
मेरे रिटायरमेंट की बहुत फिक्र है तुम लोगों को।
हर किसी को अपने रिटायरमेंट की फिक्र होती है, मुझे शायद नहीं होगी।
मैंने फिक्र नहीं, तैयारी की है म्यूचुअल फंड्स के साथ।
म्यूचुअल फंड्स?
मैंने अपने पैसे बरसों से म्यूचुअल फंड्स पे इन्वेस्ट किए, इसलिए कह रहा हूँ रिटायरमेंट प्लानिंग के लिए म्यूचुअल फंड सही है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
So after the excitement of what was a closely contested group stage, finals week didn't quite live up to the hype. But there were some excellent performances on show, and that's what we're going to discuss through this show. Well, we can't talk about finals week without talking about Adelaide Strikers leg spinner Amanda Jade Wellington. Wellington was at her very best through this season. She topped the wicket charts with 23 scalps and earned the golden ball. She went past Jess Jonathan through the final week, and her tally included an incredible spell of 5 for 8 against the Brisbane Heat in the eliminator. So Wellington spun a web around the two-time champions. It seemed like she had the ball on a string. It ripped, it turned past the bat, and she showed exceptional control. And it was a far cry from the Amanda Jade Wellington of that 2018-19. Remember, she was dropped from the Australian side in 2018, shortly after producing what was dubbed the ball of the century in that 2017 Ashes. Georgia Wareham came in and kind of cemented her place in that Australian side. Wellington wasn't at her best through that period. She came to India with the Australia A squad and was bowling a lot of full tosses and short balls, didn't seem to have too much control over that stock delivery. But now, she looks at her very best. She's come roaring back and is doing everything she possibly can to earn that Australian recall. Moving on now to the Melbourne Renegades. Knockout games and the Renegades don't seem to go too well together in the WBBL. After dominating the first few weeks of WBBL07, the Renegades campaign kind of came to a screeching halt, I guess. Remember, they lost their last 2 league games, which meant they finished second on the points table. So they didn't quite earn that direct entry into the final. They came up against a red-hot Strikers at the Adelaide Oval in the Challenger, and they were blown away by the Strikers' pace attack. They only managed to score 83 for 8 in that Challenger. Sophie Molyneux was carrying a niggle, so she couldn't come out to bat, which added to the Renegades' issues. And with 83 or chasing 84, it wasn't too much of a challenge for the Strikers. Katie Mack, in the form of her life, she came out alongside Dane van Niekerk, and the Strikers finished it off or chased down the target in just under 11 overs and roared their way into that final. And of course, the final at the Perth Stadium was all about Marizanne Kapp. Leading into the final, Kapp had a bit of a torrid week. She was ill and was bedridden for 3 days. She had to skip training. She also joined that team meeting that the Perth Scorchers had ahead of the final via Zoom because she wanted to conserve some energy for the big day. But come match time, Kapp was at her absolute best. She may not have been 100% fit, but she made sure that she gave everything on that day with both bat and ball for the Scorchers. Remember, she walked in to bat under a lot of pressure. The Scorchers didn't quite look like they would get to a reasonable target, but Kapp came in and scored an unbeaten 31 not out off just 23 balls. Alongside Alana King, she gave the Scorchers the necessary push to kind of get them to 146 for 5, a decent total in a final. And when Marizanne Kapp gets runs in a final, you know that she is going to bowl well. She rolled back the months and kind of took us back to Lord's in that final of the 100. She swung the ball around corners, beat the edge several times, didn't quite rip through the Strikers' top order, but she was at her very, very best. She bowled a maiden in that opening spell to Dane van Niekerk. Like I said, didn't pick up a wicket, but she piled on the pressure and the strikers were always kind of behind the 8 ball after her opening burst. They did, of course, fight back with contributions from Talia McGrath, Laura Wolfart. Maddie Penna was excellent towards the end, and so was Bridget Patterson. But it was just too much for the strikers' lower middle order to do. And PERTH Scorchers eventually snuck home by 12 runs in what was an exciting final. Of course, Kapp now deservedly has another trophy in her cabinet, and she has another Player of the Match award in her cupboard. Remember, it's in a final, and this is now 3 more South Africans who have more experience in pressure games. So come 2022 World Cup, who knows what's going to happen. And finally, now that the tournament's done and dusted, here at Women's Cricket Zone, we've tried to put together the Fantasy Akada team of the tournament. It's a little different from the official team, you will see, but we think it kind of works. Well, let us know what your team of the tournament looks like. Is it the same as ours? What changes would you have made? Or have we made some glaringly obvious omissions? Let us know what you think. But till then, that's it from me on this episode of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents The Outside View, powered by Fantasy Akada. Although the WBBL is done, there is still plenty of cricket action around the world, so make sure to stay updated with all the news right here on Women's Cricket Zone.
डायरेक्ट प्लान म्यूचुअल फंड में खुद से इन्वेस्ट करने का ये एक ऑप्शन है, इससे कमीशन बच जाता है।
अरे यार जस्सी, मुझे बताना।
डायरेक्ट प्लान में सोच समझ कर इन्वेस्ट कर तो ही फायदा है।
सही है। तेरी इतना भारी।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।